Um, Welcome to 1Kings, and we will be reading 1Kings chapter 3 today, but we'll go through 1 and 2 to kind of put the background towards it. What is the Book of Kings? The Book of Kings provides an account of the death of David and the reign of his son Solomon, and the decline of the division of the kingdom of Israel. It also recounts the ministry of the prophet Elijah among the northern 10 tribes of Israel. Originally, 1st and 2nd Kings were a single book. The division into two books occurred when the Bible was translated into Greek. The Book of Kings begins with the death of King David and concludes with the reign of Ahaziah over the northern kingdom of Israel. This book is rich in history and doctrine, and along with 2 Kings, provides background and context for much of the writings of the Old Testament prophets. The Book of Kings can be organized into three sections. The first section is what we're going to cover this rest of this week. The reign of Solomon, including the building and dedication of the house of the Lord. Despite his wisdom, Solomon turned away from the Lord and worshipped the false gods of his non-Israelite wives. The division of the kingdom of the northern kingdom of Israel under Jeroboam, and the southern kingdom of Judah under Rehoboam. Both kingdoms followed patterns of idol worship. The ministry of the prophet Elijah in the northern kingdom and northern kingdom of Israel. So we've got a few things in there, and you can see the backbone to these scriptures. So let's get into the book. So we've had quite a few years. Remember, David reigned for 40 years, so this is quite a while, and he's getting pretty old. Abishag cherishes David in his extreme age. He's got lots of children, by the way. Most of these are children of his. Adonijah aspires to be king. Bathsheba and Nathan advise David of Adonijah's plotting. David names Solomon as king and is anointed by Zadok. Adonijah's cause fails. David charges Solomon to keep the commandments and walk in the ways of the Lord. David dies and Solomon reigns. Adonijah, Joab, and Shimei are put to death, and Abner is rejected as high priest. So he's already starting to reign with that sort of making sure things are set for him, and the kingdom is established with Solomon. So now, just right at the end rather than the beginning, we're in chapter 3. So Solomon is now officially king, and Solomon made affinity with Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And affinity in this sense means kind of one of those, I'll just look at the footnote because it's easier to say, a marriage alliance. Things that were done quite a lot, actually, not only then, but all the way up, probably even nowadays, in some places. But something that builds stability So he builds affinity with Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and took Pharaoh's daughter and brought her into the city of David until he had made an end of building his own house and the house of the Lord and the wall of Jerusalem round about. So this is continuing. This is the first time we've had it mentioned for a while. David had collected almost all the materials that was needed for building the house of the Lord, but he was commanded not to build the house of the Lord, that his son would build it, Solomon would. And now Solomon is building the house of the Lord, his own house, and the wall of Jerusalem. Only the people sacrificed in the high places, because there was no house built unto the name of the Lord until those days. So until then, that was the going to the high places and things was where they'd do the sacrifices. And I think we talked about that earlier in the year, a couple of weeks ago. And Solomon loved the Lord, walking in the statutes of David his father, only he sacrificed and burnt incense in the high places. That sounds to me, it doesn't really say specifically, but it almost sounds like he's saying he loved the Lord and he did all that he should do, but he still dabbled a little bit in things. It just sounds a little bit like they're trying to say, well, he was pretty righteous, but he did dabble a little bit where he probably shouldn't. I'm not sure if that's what it's saying, but it sounds like that with that only he. If it would have said, and he sacrificed, meaning he was doing those because there's no house of the Lord built. I'm not going to get too deep in that because I think it's just the way it's written. And the king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for there was a great high place. 1,000 burnt offerings did Solomon offer upon that altar. And we don't know if that was all at once or if that was over the years or what. And in Gibeon the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, ask what I shall give thee. And I just put a little note there, and to the gifts of the Spirit, Doctrine and Covenants, and to others it is given to prophesy. So he's given these dreams at night, or to as a gift from God. And Solomon said, thou hast showed. So God asks what he can give him, what he should give him. Quite an open-ended question. And Solomon said, thou hast showed unto thy servant David, thy father, great mercy, according as he walked before thee in truth and in righteousness and in uprightness of heart with thee, and thou hast kept for him this great kindness, that thou hast given him a son to sit on his throne, as it is this day. And now, O Lord, I love the fact that he recaps and kind of says, look, you've already done such wonderful things, and you've done this for my father, and is because of his righteousness and uprightness, and I can ask what I wanted to aspire to. And now, O Lord God, thou hast made my servant king instead of David my father. I would have put in the stead of, if in the writing, basically, now that David has passed on, the kingdom passed to him. But I am a little child. I know not how to go in or go out or come in. I don't think he was too young, but he was young enough to feel that he had a lot on his shoulders. And thy servant is in the midst of thy people, and thou hast chosen a great people that cannot be numbered nor counted for multitude. Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this thy so great a people? Basically, he's saying there's so many people, so many diverse things that's going to come up. I can't do this alone. I need your help. And the speech pleased the Lord, that Solomon had asked this thing. And God said unto him, Because thou hast asked this thing, and hast not asked for thyself long life, neither hast thou asked for riches for thyself, nor asked for the life of thine enemies, but hast asked for thyself understanding to discern judgment. Now, it's interesting here in this sentence, God explains what he didn't ask for, and also that it was I think he's emphasizing what he's asking for is for the people and not just for himself, something that will benefit other people. And you know what I've found is that when I've prayed, and the closer I am to the Spirit, the more I end up praying for other people more than myself. I might ask for understanding or the right words or something like that, but it's usually for other people. And when I'm not saying that it's wrong not to ask for certain things specifically for yourself, but it's usually because you're asking so that you can bless other people, at least in my experience, that you want to help other people with whatever situation you're in. Behold, I have done according to thy words. Lo, I have given thee a wise and understanding heart, so that there was none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall any arise like unto thee. So his wisdom is going to be so strong. And I have also given thee that which thou hast not asked, both riches and honor, so there shall not be any among the kings like unto thee all thy days. So he's also given them all of the things he mentioned above, basically, that he says, well, you're blessed because you didn't ask for that, but I'm going to bless you anyway. The Lord often blesses us more than we can imagine, and sometimes it doesn't look the same way as being really rich or being famous or anything like that. Sometimes we get that thing. For instance, what I was saying about praying for other people, I've thought of some times when I've prayed for something for someone else and then have the opportunity to serve them and to see that prayer answered through me, and at the same time I end up having my own blessings from that. It might be a better friendship that I hadn't had with that person, or whatever it might be. And it doesn't have to be riches and honor and glory and everything like that. But the Lord will almost always bless you more than you ever thought you could even ask for. And if thou wilt walk in my ways to keep my statutes and my commandments, as thy father David did walk, then will I lengthen thy days. And Solomon woke, and behold, it was a dream, and he came to Jerusalem and stood before the Lord before the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and offered up burnt offerings and offered peace offerings, and made a feast to all his servants. Now it's gone from the high places to let's go directly and stand in where we believe the presence of the Lord really is in Jerusalem. Then came there 2 women, and now we're going to a story just to establish that he has this wisdom. And then there came 2 women that were harlots unto the king, and stood before him. The one woman said, O Lord, O my Lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house. And it came to pass the 3rd day after that I was delivered, that this woman also was delivered also. And we were together, and there's no stranger with us in the house, save we 2 in the house. So they're roommates, basically. They're helping each other out with these children that they are about to have. And this woman's child died in the night because she overlaid it, meaning she laid upon it. It's really sad, really. And she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me, while thine handmaiden slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. And when I rose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. But when I had considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son, which I did bear. And the other woman said, Nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son. And this said, No, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son. Thus they spake before the king. Then said the king, The one saith, This is my son that liveth, and thy son is dead. And the other saith, Nay, but thy son is dead, and my son living. So it's starting to, you can feel your own brain going a little bit like, oh my heavens, what's going on here? And how can you solve it? If nobody saw the children before and they both say the same thing, how do you do it? And his answer is something that totally is from left field, and one of the most classic things of how he ruled as king. The king said, Bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, Divide the child in 2. Give half to one and half to the other. Oh, just the thought is really weird. But he showed such sincerity that then spake the woman who the living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son. And she said, O my lord, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. But the other said, Let it be neither mine nor thine, but divide it. Now, first of all, I kind of find it interesting that one of them would say divide it anyway, but obviously Solomon had that insight and that wisdom beyond just what we have, and knew this would work. Then the king answered and said, Give it to her, the living child, and in no wise slay it. She is the mother thereof. He knew that would happen. He knew that they would come to the reconciliation, know that that woman was the living child's son. What's interesting also is, which woman was it? Was it the first or the second woman? I always think it's the first one, but it never tells you which woman it was that actually whose son it was. Was it the one that told the story and said, yeah, my child was swapped in the middle of the night? Or was it the other one who, after they woke up, they said, wait, you swapped our children. No, I didn't. Mine is the right one. It never tells you, but that's not the point of the story, but it is an interesting thought. Could you work it out? Other than this part. And all Israel heard of the judgment of the king, which the king had judged, and they feared the king. Remember, feared is more of a revere or a love, in the sense of they're going to obey him. For they saw that the wisdom of God was in him to do judgment. So we see that Solomon has this wisdom, and at this point loves the Lord.